Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to MTG Traders. My name is Taryn, and this is a special one for us. This is Mono White Heroic for Pauper. So Thursdays for me are relegated to like a kind of a deck of the week, like any kind of format we want to pick. And today I wanted to go for Pauper because we have not done Pauper yet on the channel, and I wanted to dive right into it. This is Mono White Heroic for Pauper. Before we get into it, make sure to like the video if you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Helps us out a lot, helps keep the channel growing, and helps keep the content flowing. But without further ado, let's get right into it. Our first up here is Laguna Band Trailblazer. It is a 1 mana 4 of 0/4 Centaur Scout with Heroic, and whenever you cast a spell that targets Laguna Band Trailblazer, put a +1/+1 counter on Laguna Band Trailblazer. So the heroic trigger here is going to be for a lot of our creatures. They're going to be the exact same thing, of course. Laguna here is a super value card for us, coming in the early game, blocking some early attackers, as well as being larger and larger as we continue to put cards on top of it, or put cards that target Laguna Trailblazer. But a card that I really like that goes along with heroic really well is this card right here. This is Ixalan Bondkin. This is a 2 mana 3 of 2/1 Hound Soldier with Outlast. Of course, you can pay 2 and tap it. Put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Outlast only as a sorcery, so there's that. So it can become a 3/2 if you want to, or each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has first strike. So we see here that the Laguna Trailblazer is a 1/4 as soon as we have a spell that targets it, but as soon as a Bondkin is on the battlefield, it then has first strike as well. And first strike for us in Pauper is incredibly important. I really love this kind of 1-2 punch mentality with these two creatures here. Moving up to some more heroic creatures for us, we have, of course, a Crowan Skyguard. This is a 2 mana 4 of 1/1 Human Soldier with flying, and of course heroic. When you cast a spell that targets a Crowan Skyguard, put a +1/+1 counter on a Crowan Skyguard. So it's a 2 mana 1/1 flyer, which is great, but it also kind of grows over turns. So it can be a 2/2 flyer, 3/3 flyer, and so on. A Crowan Skyguard is probably our main attacker in the deck. And the last creature in here is actually a Wingsteed Rider. This is a 3 mana 2/2 Human Knight with flying and heroic again, so 3 of. Of course, heroic is whenever you cast a spell that targets Wingsteed Rider, put a +1/+1 counter on it. So it's basically just a more powerful version of our Crowan Skyguard here. Very, very powerful, very good for us, being a 2/2, so a little bit stronger, a little bit more able to kind of block stuff as soon as it hits the battlefield. But having another flyer with the Skyguard here is fantastic for us as well, as there are going to be a lot of situations where we just kind of fly over our opponent's creatures. But that is all the creatures in the main board here. There's only 14 in total, which is really small when you think about it. But we have a lot of cards here that actually kind of help us kind of draw cards, as well as kind of go on top of our creatures here. So let's move right on to spells here. We have 4 of Defiant Strike. This is, of course, a cons card for us. It's a 1 white mana instant. Target creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn, and we draw a card. So great way for us to get a heroic trigger off, as well as get a +1/+0, which is kind of pumping our creature if they have a +1/+1 counter, like most of them will. And we have an Ixalan Bondkin on the battlefield. It's going to have first strike, so basically +1/+0, get another +1/+1 counter, and have first strike. So that's a lot for just 1 white mana, as well as draw a card at instant speed. So if we need this at the end step of our opponent's turn to grab some more value into our hand, we can do that as well. But Defiant Strike is going to be a great card either way for us. Moving up here, we have Emerge Unscathed. This is one of the rebound cards for us here. It's a 4 of 1 mana instant. Target creature you control gains protection of the color of your choice until end of turn. Already great there, but it has Rebound, which is if you cast a spell from your hand, exile it as it resolves. At the beginning of your next upkeep, you may cast this card from exile without paying its mana cost. So very, very good for us. This is basically giving us 2 heroic triggers on 2 different creatures if we want to, as well as giving us protection of a color of our choice until end of turn, which is great whenever we're going up against a lot of different types of creatures on the battlefield here. Next up here for us, we have Artful Maneuver. This is another rebound card for us. It's a 2 mana 2 of instant. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn, and of course rebound again, which means we can get another heroic trigger the following turn when this card is played. Both Emerge Unscathed and Artful Maneuver are basically 2 heroic triggers for just 1 card, as well as giving a pump too. So very, very good on the curve, very good for our heroic creatures. And the last spell in the deck here, we have Guided Strike. This is an older card for us. It was reprinted in Iconic Masters, I believe. It is a 2 mana instant 4 of. Target creature gets +1/+0 and gains first strike until end of turn. Draw a card. Again, first strike is very important. It's going to trigger heroic, and it's going to draw us a card just like Defiant Strike does. I do think Guided Strike is a bit better than Defiant Strike, of course, but it is for 1 more mana because it does give first strike here. But I do think either way, both of these cards are a great inclusion in the deck. It really helps kind of make our creatures larger, kind of keep attacking out, as well as filling up our hand with more filtering cards. But that is it for spells. Let's move on to enchantments here for us. We have 4 Cartouche of Solidarity. It's a new card from Mom and Cat here. It's a 1 mana enchantment aura Cartouche. Enchant creature you control, and when Cartouche of Solidarity enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 white warrior creature token with vigilance. That's pretty good right there. It also gets +1/+1 and first strike, and of course it does trigger a heroic trigger. For 1 mana and being a common, Cartouche of Solidarity sure does a lot of stuff for us, which is great. Next up here we have Ethereal Armor. This is a card we might put on the Einok Bondkin first to kind of make sure that card has first strike, and then the rest of our board will have first strike with their heroic triggers. So that's kind of something interesting to play along with. We have Ethereal Armor here. It is a 1 mana 4 of enchantment aura, enchant creature. Enchant creature gets +1/+1 for each enchantment you control and has first strike. So Ethereal Armor gets larger as we continue to play out our hand onto our creatures. Moving up here we have Hyena Umbra. This is a 4 of 1 mana enchantment aura, enchant creature. Enchanted creature has +1/+1 and first strike. Again, first strike very important for us in the matches, and very good at being able to trade up or against our opponent as well. So kind of using this as a great way to hold up blocks against an opponent who's going really, really wide, like Affinity, something like that. Hyena Umbra here is really going to help us get heroic, get first strike, get +1/+1, as well as kind of feed into the Ethereal Armor if we can. And the last two enchantments here, we have 2 Divine Favor. This is a 2 mana 2 of enchantment or enchant creature. When Divine Favor enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life, and enchanted creature gets +1/+3. I really like this here over a bunch of other enchantments solely for the reason of getting the 3 life here. Getting +1/+3 is fantastic already because it does kind of beat the first strike battle for us because it does give us more toughness, but it also gains us 3 life, and in a matchup in Pauper where you're kind of like swinging back and forth against an opponent, gaining 3 life is very important. But that is all the cards in the main board besides lands here. Let's go over lands. We have 3 Secluded Steppe. Of course, this is just a cycle land for us, coming in tapped, tapping for white mana, or just paying 1 to cycle it. Next up here, of course, we have 15 planes, and that is the full 60 on Game 1 game plan. So Game 1 game plan, on turn 1, get out a Laguna Band Trailblazer, get out a Ethereal Armor on top of that, or get out the Akroan Skyguard, stuff like that, and just kind of swing for face as quickly as humanly possible. But you might be noticing that there is not a lot of removal in Game 1, so what can we do about that? Let's go to the sideboard here and see if we can have enough removal to handle a particular situation. First up here we have Cathar's Shield. This is a 1 of here, just a 0 mana artifact enchantment. Enchant creature gets +0/+3 and has vigilance, and of course equipped for 3 colorless. So this is really here to beat the first strike battles that a lot of Pauper decks kind of get into. So it's really great for us on the curve, and really great when we know that our opponent is getting a lot of first strike creatures out as well. So having more toughness does make first strike less viable for our opponent. Next up here we have 2 of Lifelink. Again, life gaining here is very important, so we just have a 1 mana enchantment or enchant creature, and of course enchanted creature has lifelink. So putting this on a Crow and Sky Marcher or anything else with heroic does mean that that creature is going to gain +1/+1 counters and get larger, as well as get lifelink as well. So very, very good at getting back some life on our side of the field. Next up here we have 3 Mutagenic Growth. This is a Phyrexian mana green, so we can pay 2 life for this instead. A target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Very decent for us. I considered putting 2 more Artful Maneuver here in the sideboard over Mutagenic Growth, as again losing life is kind of one of those things where you don't really want to do in Pauper. But again, getting +2/+2 as well as another heroic trigger, making it +3/+3 for 1 green Phyrexian mana is quite good. So I do think the trade-off is very valuable for us there. And of course it is an instant, so if we play out everything in our hand and have our mana completely tapped, we can still play this on our side of the field, which is quite good. Next up here for us, we have 2 Thraben Inspector. This is an interesting pick for us. This is a 1 mana 2 of 1/2 human soldier. When Thraben Inspector enters the battlefield, we investigate, and of course that is a colorless clue artifact on the battlefield, and you can pay 2, sacrifice it, and draw a card. So Thraben Inspector is here to kind of block that early game damage, as well as give us a artifact that we can sack and draw a card with. So it's kind of doing 2 different things for us. I think Saffron Olive in his deck list, because I think he did a mono white Pauper build as well for heroic. I think he had a Sacred Cat in here instead. I didn't like Sacred Cat nearly as much as I like the Thraben Inspector. Just being a 1/2 kind of helps block those 1/1s and early damage, or trade with some tokens, 1/1 tokens. Giving this as well as being able to give us some investigate triggers is very good too. I honestly think drawing cards from the investigate artifact here is a bit better for us. Moving up here for some removal for us, we have 2 Journey to Nowhere. This is a Pauper card, believe it or not. It's a 2 of 2 mana enchantment. When Journey to Nowhere enters the battlefield, exile target creature, and of course when Journey to Nowhere leaves the battlefield, return the exiled card to its battlefield under its owner's control. So great card for us to exile. Not a lot of decks will have a game 2 sideboard game plan against like enchantment removal, unless of course they want to remove some of the ethereal armor, things like that from our side of the field. Journey to Nowhere is going to be a great way to kind of shut down those big bomb creatures on their side of the field. Next up here we have 2 Angelic Purge, another removal spell for us. It's a sorcery, 2 of 3 mana. As an additional cost to Angelic Purge, sacrifice a permanent, so that could be a land for us since our land curve is so low. Exile target artifact, creature, or enchantment. So giving us a lot of like options here, being able to kind of pick and choose what we want to exile. And right now there's an affinity Pauper deck that's kind of tearing up the format, so using this as a way to remove those artifacts is very good for us. And of course the last 3 cards in here is another artifact removal card. This is Dust to Dust, a 3-mana sorcery. This actual image I think is showing it's an uncommon. It's actually a common. It's been kind of, it was originally a common, I believe. Exile 2 target artifacts. Fantastic for us being able to get rid of 2 target artifacts, hopefully kind of getting down either on the Metalcraft in the affinity builds, and shutting down anything that's on their side of the field that's a huge threat. It also does a fantastic job at removing equipments as well for us, which is very good too. But that is the full 75, folks. On MTG Traders is coming to about 7.5 tickets. So super cheap, and in paper is coming to about 20 bucks total. I love Pauper for that price tag, I tell you what. But that is the deck list, guys. Let me know what you think. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you have any suggestions for it in the comments below? Would love to hear what you have to say. I really wanted to build this. I originally started this actually as a white red heroic build, but kind of liked it how it kind of went this way with the mono white build instead. I do think in the future I'll still do a white red heroic build because I do love that build as well. So we'll kind of get into that as we get into it. But of course, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Would love to hear your response. Like the video if you liked it, of course, and subscribe to the channel. Would appreciate that a lot. And I'll see you guys on the stream or in the next video. Peace.